when you're ready, you can push record and I'll just tell everyone a bit about our background, or you can do it and I'll let you take it from here and I can focus on driving.
That's good. Perfect.
Amazing. All right, Yossef, it's all you. I love you.
Okay. You wanted to tell everyone a little bit about our background before I start? Alex?
Yeah, that'd be great if you can. That'd be super.
Oh, for me to tell. Okay. I thought you were going to say something. All right. Okay, so I'll get started.
All right, perfect.
All right. So welcome, everybody. Thank you, Alex, for inviting me to do this. I think that we met, what was it, like 5 years ago now? And we met because we took a coaching program together. And it was actually really a special program because they usually teach big classes. Long story short, I'm actually one of their trainers now. So now I actually teach the program to other people, now more virtually than in person. So usually there's big classrooms of about 40 people, but back then they opened up like a special boutique class in an office space, and we both attended there, and there were only 7 of us in the course, and we got certified through IPEC. And I remember meeting you there, and you had all of your background in hypnotherapy. And I remember how you were like seamlessly weaving it into the coaching, how powerful that was. And I had like a little mini session with you that was very meaningful to this day. So I'm grateful that that was the beginning of our journey. And when you came to LA, we stayed in touch and we hung out, and then this thing's coming up, and thank you for inviting me to do this. And also, I guess I'm the last one, so I'm rounding out the series, and I'm grateful to be here with you. We've got a small intimate group here, but that's sort of perfect for some of the practices that we'll do today. So I'm excited to do this, all with you. And I remember when you first asked me which topic I want to talk about, I said I want to talk about sacred sexuality, and I think you said something like, "Oh, we don't really do the sex thing here." And then I talked a little bit about what sacred sexuality is all about, and how sacred sexuality is really about understanding, you know, the opposite of what most people say. So what the media tells us is that sex is everything, sex sells, and they hypersexualize everything in our society. From the ancient philosophies that I've learned, and I'll get deeper into it soon, they actually say that everything is sex. So it's flipped. Everything is sex. And so any time you're looking to create anything in your life, in the world, in your relationship, that is inherently a sexual act. It's not necessarily intercourse, but it's sexual in the sense of the way that it harnesses the energy of the masculine and the feminine. And we'll talk more about that. It sounds a little bit obscure, a little bit esoteric, but I'm going to do my very best to make it as practical for all of you as possible. So my name is Yossef, as you can see on the Zoom, and I'm originally from Canada, and I currently live in Los Angeles. And my pathway to teaching sacred sexuality is sort of unique. I've always been involved into the esoteric and the philosophical and the spiritual. That's been a part of my life since I was a child. I learned Kabbalah from a very young age for about 25 years. And that's sort of like the esoteric teachings whose sources in Judaism. And although I was learning that, and it was very beneficial for me, the environment in which I was learning, it was very repressive and harmful and damaging in a lot of ways. And I had left that several years ago. And even before I left it, I started exploring other spiritual paths, because they had said, you should only study this and don't study anything else. But I started getting into other spiritual paths, particularly Eastern philosophy and specifically Tantra. And when I was learning Tantra, I was recognizing they were saying a lot of the similar things that I had learned in Kabbalah. Esoteric is esoteric. All the wells, as the Buddhists say, all go to the same source, that same divine source. But the practices and the techniques were different. And so the lens through which I see the world is an esoteric lens. And it's a lens that uses a combination of the coaching techniques that we learned and energetic techniques as well, to create a holistic approach that works with the whole person at once, to help every individual carve their own unique path in life. That means not only doing what it is that you want to do, but actually doing it how you want to do it. You don't have to follow any best practices that any religion or society or media or parents or schooling told you. You get to carve out the life of your choosing, and you have everything inside of you that you could possibly need to get there. So what's not happening today is any kind of Kama Sutra, obscure tantric practices or stuff like that. There will be a little bit of the meditation and the breath work, but we're not going to get into anything overtly or explicitly sexual. What we're going to be doing today is tapping into the force of creation in each and every one of us. And I'll be talking about it first, and then there'll be a practice. So for the practice, what I would recommend is that the cameras be on. And I'll tell you why when it comes to the practice. And it's part of the work that we're going to be doing together that I'll be doing with you. So if right now you don't feel so presentable or whatever it is, maybe as I'm talking, just to get a little bit comfortable. And I would recommend that. If that's not for you, that's fine. You don't have to do it. But it will make the practice more powerful when we get to it. So I'm just giving you a heads up right now. If you can tune in with the camera, would be ideal. If you can't, then at least, you know, put a picture, but really the camera would be ideal. Hey, Sharisa, thank you. So, and so basically, today we're going to discuss and experience the sexual nature of our reality, how we can connect to the masculine and feminine forces within each and every one of us and in the world around us. And we'll be using specific energetic practices to actually help us apply it. And as you're turning your screens on, thank you, I love to see your faces. Also know that it will be beneficial for you if you can put me on full screen for when we start the practice. Right now you can look at whoever you want, but when we get to the practice, it's good if you put my face on full screen and you have it on speaker view instead of gallery view, so you can just focus just on me. That's when we get on the practice. Until then, you can look at whoever you want, and that's completely fine. So again, for the practice, put it on full screen, and if you have a bigger monitor, that's ideal. A phone's okay, a bigger monitor is ideal. So let's talk a little bit more. I've been mentioning masculine, feminine, sexual energy. What does that mean?
That's it from the rear door.
So basically, there are 3 levels on which the masculine and the feminine interact. And if you, if there's a little bit noise in your background, you might want to mute yourself. There you did. Thank you, Leanna. So 3 levels on which the masculine and the feminine interact. We have within the self, whether you identify as a male or you identify as a female, inside each and every one of us exist these 2 forces of the masculine and the feminine. And learning how to harness and balance those forces is the key to create everything in your life. And I'll talk about that soon. Then there's also masculine and feminine relationship. That doesn't mean always male and female. It could be male and male, female and female, but the forces of masculine and female exist inside a relationship. And even though all of us have both of those forces inside of us, we tend to show up more dominantly with one or the other, irrespective of our gender. So we tend to show up more dominantly masculine or feminine as we show up in relationship. And to learn to have a powerful relationship is to learn to have the dance of the interaction of the masculine of one with the feminine of the other. If both people are showing up heavy in their masculine, it will create certain tension. If both people are showing up heavy in their feminine, it will create a different type of tension. If one person is masculine and one is feminine, but they're not connected to the enlightened side of it, but more to the shadow side of it, it will create tension. So we're learning how to create the dance between these forces. And we're not going to go deeply into relationships today. I don't have a lot of time. It might be a topic for another conversation, but that's something that's really important. And then the 3rd level on which the masculine and the feminine interact is the universal level. The tantrics, the Kabbalists, the Sufis, they all say that every individual is a microcosm of the universal whole. That means in each and every one of you, there's an entire universe and an aspect of you that corresponds to any aspect of the universe. And so what Kabbalah says is that the human being is a tiny universe and the universe is a giant human. So also in the universe, there is this divine force of masculinity and a divine force of femininity. And these 2 divine forces and their interaction is literally what created everything. You can think of the Big Bang, pun intended, right? Big Bang. The Big Bang, the first giant orgasm that birthed the entire universe. That was through an interaction of the masculine and the feminine. So we're going to be looking at all these different areas because in the area of the self, you want to harness both of these forces so that you can have everything available to you that's within your power, not just what's expected of you. So if you're a man, you think you only interact with your masculine, or if you're female and you only interact with your feminine, then you're missing out on half of what is available to you. In relationships, we want to connect more deeply and freely with other people. We'll use both these forces. And in the world, in the universe, we are able to see the interconnectedness of all things and manifest our reality and carve our path as we want when we can be aware of these forces. So the study of Tantra is a big part of this. And although it's been talked about in all kinds of other ways. But in Tantra, actually the word Tantra means web or matrix. The whole tantric principle is that there's this interconnected web matrix of an entire universe. And what is it interconnected with? Well, the tantric states an energy called Shakti. Shakti literally actually means the word energy. It's also the feminine goddess, and it also means the word power. So according to the tantrics, all of physical reality is made of Shakti. According to physics, all of physical reality is made out of matter and energy. And energy and matter are really the same thing. Einstein said E equals mc squared. Energy can be converted to matter and matter can be converted to energy. They are actually the same thing. And so the entire universe is made up of Shakti, of energy, which sometimes takes the form of matter. So if the entire universe, everything that came out of the Big Bang is energy, and we're saying that that's feminine, what is masculine? And I'm asking you guys, because I'd like to think about this together. If everything, matter, energy is feminine, what is left for the masculine? You can throw it up in the chat, you can speak up if you want. What would be the masculine in that case? Any ideas?
Just saying.
What's that, Minka? I can't hear you.
Is it consciousness?
Consciousness. So Hannah's saying, is it consciousness? I don't know. Did you like hack my computer and get into my notes? I don't know how you figured that out, Hannah. Yes. Yeah. What makes you think it's consciousness?
I guess I think about it, the image that comes to mind is pretty basic, but it's this idea of like, there has to be both a container and soup. And if the Shakti is the soup, then there has to be something witnessing it in order for, or holding space for it in order for it to be in existence.
That's so beautifully said. If the Shakti is the soup of existence, then what's holding that? What's holding space for that? What's witnessing it? That's the conscious reality. So beautifully said, Hannah.
Thanks.
Consciousness is masculine. And when we're speaking about these things, it might seem very esoteric, but at the same time, physics has said the same thing. In the scientific world, they talk about waves and particles, and that a particle exists actually in a wave, and it can be anywhere along the wave. It's actually in all places, all at the same time, when it's not being observed. When it's being observed, it collapses into a single point anywhere along that wave, depending on the observer is where it collapses to. So the wave is the energy, that's the feminine. The consciousness, the observer, is the masculine. When you apply conscious observation to energy, it collapses into reality. So it goes from being an infinite possibility of energy into a single possibility of reality when you apply that consciousness to energy. And that's how the world is created. We are literally constantly co-creating the world through our conscious perception of it. We're co-creating the world and ourselves. We are the creator and the creation at the same time, because the consciousness part of us, that masculine, and the physicality and our energy and all of that is feminine. And how we end up showing up, our physical body, our energy body, our personality, and all of that is literally the interaction of the masculine and the feminine, the consciousness and the energy. And we are also observing the things around us, and we are molding them through that interaction of energy and consciousness. So a lot of people talk about manifestation. It's a very common thing. The Secret book came out and was very popular, and everyone talks about manifestation. How does manifestation work? It's not just by saying the words. It's not enough to repeat a mantra. It's not enough to have an affirmation. In order to manifest, you need to truly perceive things as you would like them to be, because your perception creates your reality. So it's not enough to say the words. It has to be your whole beingness behind it, has to include your vision. And that's something that happens in your head and in your heart. And we'll talk more about that in just a moment. And so when we're speaking about masculine and feminine, right? So if feminine is energy, masculine is consciousness. If the consciousness seat is in the head, let's say, right? Just the mind, if you sort of think about that as a seat of consciousness. The seat of energy is in our soul, or some people like to call it, it's like in my heart, but it's in your soul, is a seat of energy. So the feminine resides in the soul and the masculine resides in the mind, not the brain, but the mind. The feminine is receptive, it gets acted upon. The masculine is emissive, it acts upon. So yes, it holds space for and creates a container, but that thought acts upon the energy. The energy receives the thought and becomes matter. It's the yin and the yang. And so the masculine, what it does is actually limits things. It's like you said, it holds a container, it limits. Energy is infinite, it's limitless until it is a container. And limits might seem like, oh, well, I don't want to be limited. But the truth is that the limit is what delineates and creates differentiation. Without the masculine, without the limitation, it's just chaotic, and it just is, and there's just infinite. But if you want to create in your life, you need to use the masculine. The masculine, though, doesn't know. The masculine doesn't know. It can only think and problem solve, but doesn't have a knowing. The feminine, the soul inside of you, is the part of you that's aligned to your unique life path that would serve you better than any other life path. The feminine inside of you is the part that hasn't been influenced by the media and society and your parents and the school in all of those different ways to tell you how you should live your life. The masculine, the mind, has been influenced by that. And so our job, if we want to create a life that's ideal for us as individuals, is to tune in to what the feminine, to what my soul is telling me, to listen to it, to quiet the mind so I can hear it. And then the mind's job is to agree with the soul and to take it out to action. Because the soul has no free will, but it knows the ideal path. The mind has the free will, but doesn't know the path. So the mind can create action, and the soul cannot. So that combination of the mind and the soul, of the masculine and the feminine, is how you create life on your terms. And on your terms, you think you know what your terms are, and a lot of times what you're saying is you're spewing out things that have been told to you. So if you want to know what truly your terms are, you want to tap into the soul. And so that is the work. That is the balance of the masculine and the feminine. So I'd like to stop right now before I continue, and I want to ask you guys, first of all, if you have any questions on what we've spoken about, and second of all, I want to co-create this class with you. So I am going to do a practice at the end, but between now and the end, we have some more discussion to have to prepare us for the practice, and I want to hear from you what is important for you to focus on today. What would you like to get out of the rest of our session? So I have one question here in the chat. How do you tap to the soul? That's an excellent question, so thank you. And you can put them in the chat or you can just say them out. But if you put them in the chat, I can keep them in front of me so I make sure I get all the points. Sharisa's saying, damn, can you repeat the sentence about knowing of the soul and the path of the mind or something like that? Yes, absolutely. I will repeat all of that. Yes. So basically, it's sort of actually those two questions connect. So I'll go into that first. And as you have more questions, just put them in the chat and I'll address them and we'll co-create this experience together. So you can think that we live in a world of duality. The goal is to get to the non-dual world a lot of the time. They call that enlightenment, where there is no duality. There's no masculine and feminine. It's united and it's all and nothing at the same time. Now, a lot of people see enlightenment as a goal, as a destination. Enlightenment, you can't have a goal and destination in enlightenment, because when you're enlightened, there is no time or space. There is no destination. There is no goal. A goal and a destination is something that's finite. You don't become enlightened and it's over. But in moments of enlightenment, time and space cease to exist for you, and you're completely aligned. Also, in moments of enlightenment, you can't do anything. Because in a moment of enlightenment, you're just being. There's literally no doing when you're in being. So if you think about it that way, then the enlightened moments are what gives us the bird's eye view to see everything that's possible, and also the power to create in the moment. But in order to create, you have to go back into the world of duality, separate the one into two, masculine and feminine, and then unite them in the right way to create what it is that you want. So when we're talking about it, if the feminine is sort of like the soul that's inside of us, you can think about it this way. In the infinity of the universe, and when I say universe, I'm not talking about this universe, I'm talking about the multi-dimensional universe of all the universes that could possibly exist. That means there's an infinite amount of outcomes. That means that there's a parallel reality out there where, Peter, you're teaching the class and I'm listening to you. And there's another reality out there where there's no coronavirus. And there's another reality out there where there is a coronavirus, but they called it the Heineken virus, right? It's just a different beer, whatever. So whatever it is, there's an infinite amount of different realities out there and possibilities. We're living in one of those. Our soul is not limited to seeing only this reality. Our mind is. Our soul is able to see the multidimensional reality. Some people call it the Akashic records. There's a lot of different words for it. This idea that our soul is tapped into the multidimensional reality of all that could ever be. And our soul knows which of those infinite realities it is most attuned to. There is a reality for each of our souls where we are at our very best. We are aligned in our relationship and in our work and in our life in such a way that it just completely flowing in the way that's best for us. Our soul knows which one is right for it. And when we're kids, we're more tapped into it. We're in a very playful mood and anything is possible. And then people tell you what's not possible. Adults tell you, well, that's not possible. You can't do this. You can't behave like that. That's not appropriate. Hide your shame, blah, 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 blah. And then we limit the soul. And so over the course of our life, it starts as other people's minds limiting our soul. And then it becomes our own mind that limits our soul. Our own mind shuts down that knowing inside of us, because it parrots everything that it has heard from everybody else, from the outside world. And so imagine your soul as that same child that knows. If you tell a child over and over again to stop speaking up because it's being silly, eventually the child will stop speaking up. And you've told your soul, we all have told our soul over and over again that it's being silly for wanting what it wants, for wanting to behave how it wants to behave. And so we shut it down. And so of course it doesn't speak up. So the way to start listening to the soul more is by stopping to criticize its voice and to quiet the voice of the mind. So the first work that the mind has to do is to quiet itself, to quiet the criticism. You don't realize that it's two of you talking to each other, but every time you tell yourself, I shouldn't do that, people will make fun of me, what if I fail? Any of those inner critic things, your mind is criticizing the soul. When you quiet your mind, what is your soul telling you? So it's work to start quieting the mind bit by bit. And then at the same time, how do I make the soul come alive? Act a little bit more like a child. Focus on self-love. The soul comes alive when you focus on self-love, and one of the key ingredients of self-love is self-acceptance. That means there's nothing wrong with me. I have nothing to change. I am perfect the way that I am. It's one of the biggest illusions that we have to change. It's the illusion of personal development, that there's something wrong with us. When you accept yourself with all of your foibles as is, you connect to your soul. Yes, I get angry sometimes. Who's to judge that anger is bad? Who's to judge that sadness is bad? Who's to judge that criticism is bad? Anger informs me about when my boundaries are being challenged. Sadness informs me when I'm somehow not aligned with what I'm supposed to do. Criticism, even like I said, don't be critical. Yes, don't be critical of yourself, but also don't be critical of your criticism, because your criticism is a part of yourself. So if you're critical, I love that I'm critical. Criticism is what helped me to create discernment in my life and what helped me to strive to do more. I love that I'm critical. The idea is to accept whatever comes as is. So don't criticize the criticism. And if the criticism comes, don't criticize it. Love it. Give it love and give it acceptance. As you start doing that, giving yourself love and acceptance, you'll notice your soul speak up more. And then when your soul starts speaking up, don't shut it down. Listen to it. The job of your mind is to choose to agree with your soul rather than negate it. And when they work in that partnership, you are able to create and to manifest whatever it is that you want through that alignment. And I'll tell you what, you all do that already. You just don't do it in the way that you want. Because you know when your heart, when your soul and your mind are aligned? In your fears. And that's why we manifest our fears. Because what happens when we have a fear is our mind convinces our soul to also feel the same way. So when you're afraid of something, the emotional state is so intense that your soul becomes convinced. And because now the mind had convinced the soul instead of the other way around about your fears, you manifest your fears. So you are all already powerful manifestors. You're just focused on manifesting what you don't want. A fear is a powerful visualization of what you don't want. And when you powerfully visualize, you create. So how can you change your visualization to be in your best interest and to create what you want? Is let the soul be in charge of the what and the mind be in charge of the how. The soul gets to pick because the soul knows, and it doesn't have any kind of like ego of like, I want to do this so people will think that I'm cool. The soul just knows. And even if it seems silly, even if it seems weird, our mind's job is to agree with the soul. The how happens on its own. So, great questions. I'm seeing it's the hardest thing to get to the soul. I've been trying. Yeah. So this is something actually someone asked me about recently. In the soul, we call it the intuition sometimes. So there's a practice that I remember that I came up with it that really helps with that. There is no inherent way to do anything. I told you at the beginning of this call, not only do you get to choose what you do, you get to choose how you do it. So you get to choose the how of how you tap into your intuition. So I don't have to tell you how to tap intuition. You get to choose how you tap into your intuition. I'll give you an example. So I have programmed myself by telling myself that when I ask myself a question, the mind will ask a question and I want the soul to answer. So the mind asks a question. If I want the soul to answer, so what I do is I give myself a command. If the answer is no, I'm gonna have a feeling of discomfort in my chest. If the answer is yes, I'm gonna have or neutral, I'm gonna have a feeling of sort of a lightness and a buzzing around the crown of my head. And I program myself with that, and then I practice asking the question with my mind and waiting for the answer until it comes. And at first it might take a while, and eventually it becomes stronger. You can choose to program yourself with whatever signs you want in order to tap into your intuition. The last thing I want to do is tell you how to do it. I want to tell you that you can do it and show you that you can choose how to do it for yourself. You choose the destination and you choose the path. You also have to be sort of in surrender somewhat to the path, because the soul knows. The mind can't choose the path, right? It just, the path unfolds. And Rhonda's saying, I would like to learn a meditation or path to focus on joining the feminine and the masculine on a daily basis. We are going to do that today in the call. So you are going to get that. That's why I wanted you to see you face to face, because I'm going to show you how to do that for sure. All right. So let's talk a little bit more on how we can, so we talked about, so by connecting the masculine and the feminine inside of ourselves, that's aligning our soul and our mind. And since we are a microcosm of the universe, when we do that, we align the masculine and the feminine forces of the universe, and they go and create our reality for us. As above, so below, they say, but also as below, so above. We are a mirror of the universe. So just as the universe affects us, we can affect the universe. So the way that the tantrics talk about this is about, they use a concept called Brahmakarya. And Brahmakarya is literally made from two words: Brahma, which is the creator God, and Charya, which is control or stabilization. So Brahmakarya means control or stabilization of our creative force, or our sexual force, because our sexual force is our creative force. And so when the tantrics talk about it, it looks like a lot of different ways. So in my study of Tantra, we did yoga to create Brahmakarya. There's certain particular hatha yoga poses to move the energy upwards, and I'll talk more about it in a second, to create Brahmakarya. It's always moving the energy upwards. You can do it through breath work. You can do it through meditation, which is what we'll do today. You can do it through energy work. So I also do like body and energy work that helps move energy for others. So there's a lot of different ways to do it, and there's an infinite amount of paths. People can do it in their sleep, through their dreams. People can do it through movement. You can do it through dance. You can do it through music. Choose your own adventure. Because everything exists inside of everything. There is no non-spiritual path. All of the roads lead to the same place, as long as your consciousness is in the right place. So choose your own adventure. How do you want to get there? I'll be sharing a couple of options today. So to understand this from an energetic perspective, the tantrics talk about how we have 5 bodies. The Kabbalists talk about 5 levels of the soul. Very similar stuff. So the 5 bodies that we have, the one that we're most acquainted with is our physical body, right? We can all touch our physical body. Another one that you might be familiar with is the pranic body. So this is our energy body. It is inside of our body and extends up to about an inch or a couple centimeters outside of our body. I'm going to say both because I'm Canadian and we've got a European in the house here, right? So it's an inch or a couple of centimeters outside of the body. And in the energy body, when people are doing acupuncture or even more so with Reiki, you're working on the energy body. The energy body is what holds the 7 chakras, which we'll talk about in just a moment. So that's the second body. And the energy body moves the physical body and gives it life. The third body is our emotional body, which extends a little bit outside of there. When people say they see an aura, they're usually looking at the emotional body because it can change colors. It's like a mood ring, like a spiritual mood ring. You can see someone's mood by seeing their emotional body, which is their aura. Then there's the mental body around that, which extends quite a bit outside of us. And it's more subtle. And then there's the spiritual body outside of that, which extends like sometimes up to like 20 feet, or you can think like 6 or 7 meters outside of us. So we're actually not in the room together now, but if we were in the room together, there's part of our bodies that are very much in our own personal space, and part of our body overlaps with each other. So when you pass other people and someone rubs you the wrong way, you might actually be rubbing up against them with one of your other bodies. The fourth body, so I'll repeat it again. We've got physical, energetic, emotional, mental, and spiritual. The work we'll be doing today is mostly in the second one, in the energetic body. So those are the 5 bodies. So now if we go into the energetic body, I said there are 7 chakras within the energetic body. And I'll just repeat them briefly now, because during the meditation, I'll guide you through exploring each of the 7 chakras from a masculine and from a feminine perspective. So the 7 chakras, will start from the bottom and we'll work our way up. And if you think you already know the chakras, I would say, just be with an open mind. Maybe you'll learn something new about them. Also, the way that they're displayed in the West, usually with the Yoga Alliance, isn't necessarily 100% accurate, or at least not the same as the way the Tantrics set them up. So the first chakra is the root chakra. And you can imagine that this red disc, it's coming out directly below the bottom of you. So for men, this would be coming directly below your perineum, which is that space between your testicles and your anus. It comes about directly below there. For a woman, it comes directly below the entrance to the vagina. And you can imagine it as being, about like this size. If you put your hands together, maybe a little bit smaller. Okay, so about 10 centimeters in diameter, 5 inches or so in diameter. And it's directly below you. So you can imagine it as a red disc. It's not exactly, but you can imagine it that way. The second chakra is the sacral chakra. The sacral chakra, for men, this would be floating directly in front of you, just an inch in front of you, but directly in front of the base of the penis. And for women, it would be directly in front of where the clitoris is. And it also comes out the back as well. So you can think of 2 discs that they're like funnels. They go into the body, they meet at the spine, they get thinner and thinner and thinner, meet at the spine. So it goes big, goes in one side and comes out the other side, the front and the back of your body. You can think of it as a yellow disc. The third chakra, and this is where it usually starts getting a little bit mixed up with Yoga Alliance, is not your solar plexus, is actually the navel chakra. It's about an inch below your belly button. Sorry, the sacral you can think of as orange. This one is yellow. So it's just an inch below your belly button, again, in the front and in the back. Then you have your heart chakra in the middle of your chest. You can imagine it as a green disc floating in the front and the back. The next one is the throat chakra. You can imagine it as a blue disc floating in the front and the back of your neck around this divot point at the base of your throat over here. So if you take a look at me real quick, over here, because some people place it a little bit too high up. The next chakra is the third eye chakra, not between your eyebrows, but actually right in the center of your forehead. There's a secondary chakra between our eyebrows. There's a secondary chakra at our solar plexus, but it's not one of the major ones. So the third eye chakra is actually at the middle of the forehead. You can think of it as a purple disc in the front and in the back. And then you have the crown chakra, which is a white disc, and it's about double in diameter than the other ones. And it faces upwards and comes out the top of the crown of our head. And it actually pairs up with the root chakra at the bottom to go all the way through your body. So we have these 7 chakras, and those are the 7 energy centers of the body. There's also a lot of channels in our body. There's 72,000 energetic channels through our body. The most major one goes down our spinal cord. It's called the Shushumna Nadi. Nadi is a channel. And so it goes down our spinal cord, and all of the chakras actually run through that one. So it connects all of them. And then I won't get into all the other ones right now. So that's a little bit about how our energy body is set up. And the reason I'm telling you that right now is because it's important to understand a little bit about how the energy body works as we go into the meditation and the practice of actually accessing it. So you keep that in mind as we go into the practice. Okay, so our practice today will be tapping into the masculine and the feminine forces inside of us. We're going to use a masculine and feminine focus as we go into each of the 7 chakras, because when you can align them, you can create. And this is the interesting thing about the chakras. Our creative energy starts at which chakra? The majority of it is stored in our sacral chakra, which is the second one. Why? It's connected to the reproductive organs. And the reproductive organs are the seed of creation in our life. We create new life with our reproductive organs. So in the same way, energetically, anything we want to create, the creative energy source is in this chakra that corresponds to the reproductive organs. Now, creative expression exists at the throat chakra. So even though the creative essence is in the second chakra, the creative expression is in the throat chakra. And the challenge is that for most people, their creative energy gets trapped in their sacral chakra. And then they're not able to express themselves. Why does it get trapped? There's a lot here. It can be its own course. It gets trapped because of trauma. It could be physical, emotional, sexual trauma. Anyone who's just blocked with their emotions or can't communicate, or because our emotions are also all in our sacral chakra, so any emotional imbalance causes a creative imbalance as well. And any kind of also shame or guilt around our sexuality can trap it as well. So sexuality, creativity, and emotionality are all very tied together in the sacral chakra. So when I spoke earlier about Brahmakarya, which is control over the sexual or creative energy, that's what it's talking about. It's taking the energy from the bottom and moving it upwards. So our energy all comes from our root. Our root draws it up from the world, from the earth. That's why when we walk barefoot on the earth, we can draw up a lot of energy into our root. That gives us vitality and energy. From there, it goes into our sacral, where it becomes the creative force. For most people, it stays stuck there. Then there's the navel. So the navel chakra, you can imagine like a fire that burns and starts heating up the lower energies and allows them to evaporate. So the work actually begins with strengthening our navel chakra, which helps us to evaporate all of those dense energies that are stuck in the sacral, to heat them up and allow them to evaporate and move upwards. Upwards to where? To our heart, to love others unconditionally, to our throat, to express ourselves creatively, to our third eye, to connect to our intuition and to our knowing, and to our crown, to connect to bliss and godliness in the divine. And so the Brahmakarya, we'll be doing a little bit of that in the meditation today, is to help us move that energy upwards. This is one way to do it. You can do it through movement. You can do it through yoga. You can do it through sleep. You can do it through body work. There's a lot of ways. Happy to answer questions at the end if we have time today, or you can reach out to me as well. So who's ready to get into the practice today? And let me know if you have any questions before we get into the practice. Good? All right. So if we're going to get into the practice, what I would like you to do is, if you haven't until now and you can, please turn your cameras on, because we're going to be doing an open eye meditation. So I want you to turn your cameras on, and I want you, I love the mask, and I want you, if you can, to put me in speaker view so you see in as much of the screen as possible. And if you have a phone, maybe turn it sideways so you can see my face as big as possible. I'm also going to zoom in a little bit on my face. I'm sorry you guys have to stare at my face, but it just helps with this meditation. So I want you all to look at me and be able to look me in the face. I'll look in the camera when I'm doing this. And it's 4:44, y'all. It's 1:44 where I am, but thank you, Danny, for calling that out. It's 4:44 somewhere, yes. Okay, so and what we're gonna do for this meditation is we're gonna gaze left eye to left eye. Why the left eye? The left eye is the feminine eye, the receptive eye. So you're gonna look with your left eye into my left eye. Everybody look, I'm pointing to my left eye. Okay, this is the eye you're going to look into, and you're going to look into it with your left eye. Okay, and what we're going to do is I'm going to lead you through some meditation. Your job is to just stay in a calm, relaxed state that's comfortable for you, to look left eye to left eye, not an intense gaze, not a distracted gaze, a soft gaze. And as you look left eye to left eye, you're going to expand your consciousness. So what does that mean? You're just going to slowly be able to pick up more and more in your peripheral vision. Just try and see more and more without changing the direction of your eye. You can do it with your peripheral vision, and you can do it with your consciousness. So try to expand your consciousness to fill up more and more of the room. And the third thing, be receptive. Don't fight it. Don't push. Just allow. My job in this exercise is to be the masculine and the emissive. Your job is to be the feminine and be receptive. I'm actually doing both. I'm being receptive to feminine energy, and I'm going to be emissive with my masculine energy and transmit some of that to you. Eye to eye, which is how the tantrics do it. After we get into that, I'll do a little bit of breath and we'll do that. I'll take you through some guided visualizations, and we're going to explore the energy channels and then the chakras, and we're going to explore them from a masculine and feminine perspective, and it will help us to align our chakras and be more in balance with those two aspects. Okay, so let's get ready to go. So just sit in a comfortable position. Relax your neck. If you need to blink, you can blink, but you want to generally keep the left eye to the left eye. Expand your consciousness, expand your awareness. Fill the whole room with that awareness. You know, I'm going to put some music on too, actually, for us. I think I need to share it here first. Put some music for us, that'll be good. Did I share something in particular with you? Oops. Share the wrong thing, do you think? I think I'm just going to share my... No, because if I share, what's going to happen is you're not going to see me. So I'm not going to do the share. It's more important that you see me. So let's go again. Left eye to left eye. Expand your conscious awareness to the sides of the room. We're going to start with, we're going to do some deep, forceful breaths. We'll do only 10 of them. I'm going to demonstrate one for you, and then we'll do 10 together. And then we're just going to relax into a normal breath. It's going to look like this. Do 10 of those strong ones together. So let's go. And settle into your breath. You might have gotten a little bit lightheaded, and that's okay. Expand your consciousness. Expand your awareness. Have a soft gaze. Look into my left eye with your left eye. Start noticing, without moving your eye, the lightest points around you on the screen or in the room around you, and just pay attention to the lightest, brightest points. And make them brighter. And then look at the next lightest points. Make them brighter. Continue going to the next brightest points and make them brighter. And continue doing this until you make the whole area around you full of light. Make everything into light. And as you do this, I want to imagine there's also a ball of light in your spine. With every inhale, it travels up the spine and goes all the way to the crown of your head. And with every exhale, it goes all the way down your spine to the tailbone. So we're going to exhale, bringing the ball of light, warming our whole spinal column, the Sushumna Nadi, all the way down to the tailbone. And we're going to go up. With an inhale all the way to the crown. And down for 3. And up for 4. Down 5 to the tailbone. Up 6 to the crown. Down 5, down 7, up 8, down 9, and up 10. And we're going to do the same thing again, another count of 10. This time when we go down to the tailbone and push an inch below us. So we push that ball of energy an inch below the tailbone. And when we go upwards, we push it up an inch, a couple centimeters above the crown of the head. Down 1, pushing out the bottom of the tailbone. Up 2, pushing out the crown of the head. Down 3, and push. Up 4, and push. Down 5, up 6, down 7, up 8, down 9, and up 10. Now we've energized our spinal column. Move the energy up and down. It's flowing freely. The energy is flowing freely along our whole spinal column. I want you to go for a moment into your solar plexus. I said there's not a chakra here, but there's a secondary source of energy here. Chakra, and what the solar plexus is good for. So this is about halfway between your heart and your navel. There's a place you can push out of it any negativity that doesn't belong to you, that you don't want with you on this journey. You just want to push it out. So imagine you're pushing out from the back of your spine, pushing forward and pushing the energy out of your solar plexus. Any negativity, any little bits that don't belong to you that you gathered throughout the day or the week or beyond, you just push them outwards. Good. Now I want you to imagine that this energy in our spinal column that's going up and down is actually pushing now, and this light beam is pushing out through our crown and going into our heavens, and another beam of light is going down through our root and into the base of the earth. So we're connected with a beam of light from the base of the earth, from the core of the earth, all the way up into the heavens, and it's going through our spine. And I want you to imagine that you start bending this beam along our head, just about this far up the top of the head, and have it bend downwards and come in all directions like an umbrella, like a fountain, over and around your body. And the beam that's coming out through your root, you have it bend as well, and you have it come upwards to form another fountain, going upwards and all around your body. And the fountain coming down from your crown and the fountain coming up from your root, they meet each other. And you're creating an energetic egg around you. And are expanding your beingness to fill the egg. So all of your energy body, instead of just being around your body, you expand it to fill the whole egg, so that your skin almost expands to meet the inside of the egg and create a protective layer for this practice. And in this protective layer, you're completely safe, and whatever you do, completely guarded from any external force. What I have you do now is, while keeping left eye to left eye with me, I want you to move your consciousness down into your root chakra. So remember the root chakra, 1 inch below your perineum, or the entrance to your vagina. Imagine it as a red disc. You can think of it as very earthy. It connects to the earth element. And what I want you to do is, for a moment, switch with your consciousness into a more penetrative masculine focus. And what that will feel like swimming upstream into this funnel in your root. So you're going to swim upstream and you're going to push and use your masculine consciousness to push into it. And the more you push into it, the more resistance it gives you swimming upstream. So you're going to keep pushing, and it's going to keep pushing back, and just keep pushing into it, the masculine force. And it feels earthy, and you recognize the power of vitality, of energy, of life force, of stamina, that all come from the root, groundedness. As you push into it, you push harder. It pushes harder on you, you push harder. When you feel you can't push any longer, you're going to surrender into that energy with a feminine focus. You're going to be surrendered to the energy and let it take you wherever it wants to take you. Let it permeate all of your cells. Let it completely fill you. This power, vitality, and energy. Life force, stamina. And charged with this energy, you feel as you're moving upwards, you feel the earthiness and the solidity start to melt away into a liquid state as you get to your sacral chakra, that orange disc. Just a couple centimeters, an inch in front of the base of the penis or in front of the clitoris. And imagine yourself with your masculine intention pushing deep into that. So with your consciousness, push deep into it. You're feeling your sensuality, your sexuality, your creativity, your emotionality. You're pushing into all of that. You're tapping into all of that by pushing into it, and it pushes back on you. The more it pushes, the more you swim upstream. When you feel you can't any longer surrender into it, let yourself be taken by that sexuality, the creativity, the emotionality inside of you. Let it take you. Let it permeate every cell in your body. Connect to it. Love it. And as you do that, you notice things are starting to heat up a little bit. You feel a fire burning nearby. It starts evaporating those waters and they move up into the fire center at your navel chakra, just an inch below your belly button, this yellow disc. And imagine with your masculine force pushing and penetrating into this disc, pushing into it. You feel the power of will, pure willpower, courage, strength. Builds your immune system, this chakra. Gives you the ability to choose and to do and to direct your force and your energy. That fiery intensity. Swimming upstream here is like swimming into a blazing fire, lava. You feel the heat, you are not consumed by it, but it feels like it burns as you push into it. It pushes back on you. When you can't any longer, surrender into it. Let it take you. The force of power, will, strength, immunity, protection. It's important to maintain the eye contact as much as possible. And as you surrender into it, you feel those fires blazing and moving, the steam upwards. It now becomes very airy as you move into your heart chakra, in the center of your chest. Just about an inch in front of you, this beautiful green emerald disc. You push into it with your masculine focus, with your intensity. It's like pushing into a storm, pushing up against the air. And the air feels like unconditional love. This pure wind of love, unconditionally, regardless of how you show up. You love yourself and accept yourself unconditionally. As you push into it and it pushes back on you, you love and accept those around you unconditionally. And you love and accept your life and your situations in the world unconditionally. You push into it, it pushes back on you until you surrender into it. And it takes you, the unconditional love takes you. The unconditional love permeates every cell of your body, fills your heart and your soul and your body. And the energy keeps rising and becomes etheric at this point, intangible. And it moves up to your throat chakra, this blue disc, floating right in front of the divot, the bottom of your throat. And you're going to push into it with your masculine, with your intensity. You're going to push up against it. And as you do, You feel its force, creative expression, communication, the ability to express your greatest gifts, whether they're words, whether it's dance, whether it's something that you're creating. You have the ability to express that. You're pushing into it and you feel the expression, the power of your expression. There's nothing going to hold you back from creating that anymore. You push into it and you can until you can't any longer, and you let it take you. Move into the feminine, you get receptive to it. You let that creative expression embody every part of your body, all of your cells. It moves you. You are the creative expression of your gift. It is you. And from there, you feel that energy rise and it moves into your third eye center. The purple disc right in the center of your forehead, directly in front of it. And you push into it with your intensity. And it feels like knowing without knowing who you know. The power of your intuition, the power to see things that are unseen. It gives you command and control over all the lower chakras so that you are not reactive through them, but you get to choose and respond any way you like. You have command and control through the power of your third eye. You push into it deeper and deeper as it pushes back on you. This purple glowing disc, this wisdom, this sense of joy. Till you can't push any longer and you surrender into it. Surrender to the knowing, to the seeing. Surrender to all of it. Let it permeate you, and then we're going to move into the crown. You're going to push down into the crown of the head with your masculine energy, this beautiful white disc, feeling the divine, feeling a sense of pure bliss, an orgasmic experience for your body and your soul and the universe all at once. And it doesn't last just a moment. It permeates you. You push up against it. It's almost too much to bear. And it becomes too much, and you surrender into it. And you let that divine, blissful orgasm take you. Every cell of your body, that bliss, that connection to everything. That's the feeling of enlightenment. And you feel all of your chakras working in unison. They're all working together. You surrender to all of their power. You are able to direct their power. And let that fill your whole body and your beingness. Close your eyes for a moment. Allow yourself to feel that entire experience, to integrate it, to let it expand from the chakras to all the parts of your body. Beautiful. And whenever you're ready, open your eyes. Last thing I'd like to do, this is up to you. If you want to, the way to integrate anything that you may have experienced, that you may have seen, felt, viscerally in your body or emotionally, maybe you had visual sensations, some people do, maybe you heard things. Whatever came to you, the best way to integrate it is by communicating it. Right now it's in its feminine state, it's an experience. When you put words to it, you add and you delineate with the masculine, which creates a container for it that you get to keep it. So I'd like to hear from you if you'd like to share, that would be great. If you don't, you can write about it and journal about it. But if anyone would like to share their experience, I would love to hear from you right now. Just what came up for you during that meditation? Okay, no? Or if you have, yes, please.
I'll share. It usually takes me a second to translate into verbal because
Yeah.
there's so much vibrational change happening. So I'm just converting now. um, what I really enjoyed was the Taurus kind of image of the circular coming through the chakra that, I think I'm saying it right, Taurus,
Mhm.
Torus, which felt really safe. And I think usually there's a desire to explore, but just having the spine activated feels very vulnerable. But with the sprouting out and the sprouting upwards, there was a kind of a cocoon that really allowed for quite a bit of courage in the vibration. The vibration just felt a lot more willing.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And it's a combination of like, what I offered you is just one experience. It's something that I sort of create for myself to help me tap into those energies. You can do that in whatever way is right for you. It's not the path, it's a path. And it's that work with the alignment and coordination of the heart and the soul to work together. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Can I ask
Yeah.
a question?
Sure.
Regarding the masculine energy pushing, just as a technical question, are you subtly engaging in those muscular areas, in those energetic areas?
You don't have to. It's all the work of the consciousness. There is some work. So sometimes when I'm working with people on their sacral, we'll do Kegel exercises as well.
Yeah.
And that has its benefit because all the energy bodies are attached. But in terms of the work we did today, it was enough just to push with your consciousness. Now, pushing with your consciousness is something you sort of learn to do. But it's like, it's easier to be in a feminine place with your consciousness and be receptive. It's a little bit more challenging to become masculine and push outwards with your consciousness, but we're capable of it. Move energy with your mind. It's literally what we do. It's just you're aware of doing it.
Great. Thank you.
I'm seeing from Rhonda here, he saw flashes of bright white light around my head, and then at other moments, it became very threatening. That's completely normal, Rhonda. I do this with people sometimes, and they have full visual experiences. They see me shape shift, they see lights, they see colors, they do all kinds of things. What we're doing here is we're dropping some of the layers that filter out what we normally see. Now, everything there is in light and nothing is negative. It's just our own interpretation of things. Sometimes you might see me in complete blackness or darkness. Maybe you want to share a little bit more about what was threatening to you. But know that the darkness is actually more light than the lightness in this state, because it's the purest light is the clear light. And the clear light is like looking into the space. You see nothing. It's nothingness. Nothingness is the highest state. It looks black, but it's light. So, but I'd be curious to hear from you what else you saw.
Yeah, it's interesting because it kind of reminded me when I was a little kid, and my little brother and I would look in a mirror and we'd watch our faces change, and we'd have this experience together and be like, wow, this is so cool. It was similar to that, but in the sense that I was just focusing on one area of you, which was your eye, and then I could literally, it was almost like an artist's paintbrush with swirling colors around, and suddenly it would be like you were saying, the purest of white. It would show up in different areas around your face, around your head, and on your face. And then there'd be other moments where things, like you were saying, became very dark, and then the shadows created this more menacing kind of, that I just was following as we were going along, wherever that would go.
Great. And I love what Danny wrote here. What you see is a reflection of you. It's true. All that I do in that state is through the state that I bring you into a particular state so that you can see more. It's just, we're basically, even from a scientific level, just dropping some of the normal filters our brain puts in place so we don't get overwhelmed all the time, but we're actually capable of doing it. So I help you drop those if you were open enough to do that. And then you can see more. What you see, because you can actually see all the infinite realities, what you see comes from your subconscious. And once you learn to train yourself, even through your conscious, you can explore any of the dimensions with it. So what you saw, like Danny said, is a reflection of what's in your subconscious. You might see me, if you believe in parallel realities or multiple lifetimes or stuff like that, you might see me in a different reality or me in a different lifetime, but it's which one are you choosing to tune into? They're all collapsing in place. You were able to see that. And do I not blink? Not very much when we do this exercise. Who's iPad? What's your name, iPad?
It's Christine.
I don't blink a lot. You said you saw an aura and flashes of light. What else did you see?
I mean, I wasn't sure if it was just my eyes playing tricks, because it was around your head and your shoulders, mostly in green and white, which the painting on the wall is sort of green and white too, but I did see the aura a lot going in and out.
Nice. So you saw a lot of greens and whites. Rhonda, you saw some blacks. What other colors did you get? Charisse, what did you see? You saw me shape-shifting. What did my face changing into what? What was I changing into?
Okay. I think around your head it was blue.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened to me that your face started changing. So I was seeing different faces and different hair types as well. Like I was seeing different souls moving through your body or something.
Yeah. So again, those things are happening all the time. We just don't see that. And it just gave us an ability to see that. So we put you into a state, and you can do this on your own, where you see all the possibilities. It's like taking that particle and ring that we're in a particle, and we're putting ourselves back into the wave of infinite possibilities. And then we can explore with our mind within those infinite possibilities and choose which one to collapse back onto. And that way we get to create into our life. That is manifesting. That's one way to do it. There's other ways to do it. So we're running out of time on the Zoom here because I am over time and Zoom has a limit. So I do want to hear from you, Danny, but let me put in the chat in case you want to reach out to me later. I don't want to have you not be able to reach me. So that's my email, yossefsagi@gmail.com. Oh no, I sent it only to one person. I'm going to send it to everyone. Let's do this again. It's basically my name, at gmail.com. I'm going to put that in the chat so you can see it, yossefsagi@gmail.com. And Danny, what did you want to share?
I just wanted to ask you, I'm an actor, so I've done this training a lot called Alexander technique. Do you know what it is by any chance?
Yeah, I've heard about it. I took a class.
Okay, cool. So when I was doing the meditation, I just wanted to ask you and everyone else, like, sometimes I just notice like in life when you want to shut down emotionally, like what you do is like you'll put your neck forward because it cuts off your spine. And so a lot of what I was trying to do in the meditation was make sure that I wasn't stopping the energy from being able to come up to my crown. By what you would actually do in Alexander is instead of jutting your neck forward is you would put your neck back so that your spine is, they always say to pretend you have like a golden thread coming out of your head. So I was just wondering if this is something that you're aware of, that you think about, that you tell people.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, most yogis will have you align your spine. It's one of the most important things. And a lot of them actually do have you have your neck down and then look up. Mm. All those things are important, but again, they're just things. The most important thing is the consciousness. So it's always the consciousness more than anything else. Body posture, breath work, and movements, all of those things are secondary to consciousness. But yes, they can help, especially if you believe that they do. Whatever you give power to with your belief works for you. So if you love doing Alexander technique and movement, give your power and belief to that. If you hate it, then believe in something that you love. Because whatever you give your belief to will work. That's the most important thing. You get to create the how, not just the what. That's what I'm trying to say. So I know we're going to run out of time any minute now, and I don't want it to be abrupt. You have my information if you want to reach out to me. And I am very grateful, Alex, again, for having me here with you guys, and for all of you for tuning in. I'd love to stay in touch. Thank you very much. Alex, do you want to say anything?
Yossef, I just wanted to thank you. That was so cool. And like, I feel like it really rounds out what we've been doing in this series of full connection. And I know when I worked with you and we studied together, there was something very special about the way you teach. And I'm so excited to see this path of what you've gone on to teach others and to share and to really get into the things, you know, when you first said, oh, you know, sexual, da da da. And I was like, wait, that's not, is that Modrn brand? I don't know. But there was something about it after you said it. I was like, well, maybe I need to take this class too. And it's funny that you came up on my radar again, because I was like, I need to call him. I need to work with him. And because I really got a lot out of our coaching sessions when we coached together in training, that I knew there was something special about you. And I'm so glad we got to share all this stuff, bringing together the feminine, the masculine to just make it whole and really redefine feminine masculine.
Yeah. Got lost you there for a second, but I appreciated everything that you said.
Thank
And
you.
there we are. You're back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. All.
And to my dog. And website.
Yeah, I put my email because I'm going to redo my website. You can send them to that website, but it's going to change soon. So maybe my Instagram, which is my name, my name, Yossef Sagi. I'm rebranding a lot of things now, but yeah, feel free to reach out to me as I am right now.
Yay. Well, we love you. More to come for sure, everybody.
Thank you all. Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Have fun, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.